welcome to today's session. I'm Gemma Margerison, the Resilience and Recovery Coach, and I'm joined today by our special guest, John Kenny. Hi, John, how are you?
Hello, Gemma. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. Thank you so much for joining us today. Would you mind by sort of starting off by telling us a little bit more about yourself, who you are and what you do?
Yes, thank you. So I'm John Kenny and I'm a relationship guy, and I'm a coach to successful singles who struggle with intimate relationships. So I've been working in the coaching field now. I trained about 9 years ago when I was a counsellor, and I met a coach, and they got me onto coaching by saying, I understand my life, but why does my life still suck? And they helped me to see that I could write myself a new story, and I was still living in my past and living in the same old story and over again. And that really got me interested in how I could then start to help people with coaching. Started to integrate the coaching into my counselling practice, and then with a few other trainings in hypnotherapy and NLP, psychology, I decided in 2016 to go for start the John Kenny coaching brand, and fused all of my stuff together, all my experiences, all my training, and formed what I call interpersonal relationship coaching. So now I help people to kind of understand themselves, their backgrounds, why they attract certain types of relationships in their lives, and help them to go and find the person that's going to complement their life and be the quality relationship they've always wanted.
Wow, fantastic. So what are some of the, I guess, the common or the sort of biggest issues that people come to you with? Are there some themes that kind of come out for people?
Yeah, there's generally that people have had difficulty in their relationships as children. So their past has a massive impact on how they're able to relate to other people, how they relate to themselves. And the difficulties that they have then having intimate relationships now goes way back into those childhood experiences where they first learn basically how to do relationships. So their relational patterns, so they formed a certain relational pattern as a child, and they've carried those patterns out throughout their life, attracting certain type of people towards them. They might have a certain sort of attachment style. So it's about 40% of the population has what's called an insecure attachment. So when we're children, if we're not sort of nurtured, loved, cared for, supported, encouraged in the right way, then we can learn to attach in what's called an insecure manner. And therefore we find it difficult to be close to people without those issues coming up and our attachment issues coming to the front of that relationship. And there's certain beliefs that we build up as well. Beliefs are probably the most powerful thing that we actually carry within ourselves. And if we've carried beliefs around relationships that maybe they're not sustainable, they're unreliable, they cause you pain, they always end in tears, that type of thing, then people have a tendency to keep recreating the belief system that they've got entrenched in their sort of subconscious. And those things seem to come to the surface of most people. There's one or two, maybe even three of those things that people struggle with if they're not able to find the right type of person.
Yeah. So how do people break those cycles then?
I think the first is just knowing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So if you can have an understanding of what's not working, it's like if your car breaks down, you need to know what the problem is before you can fix it. So if you can understand how you feel about yourself, how you feel about relationships, what are your thoughts and beliefs? Is there something within you that when you get close to someone in your subconscious, it tells you this isn't safe and you need to put some barriers in place? If you can understand where all that comes from, then you can then start to put things in place which you can think, okay, well, that's not true. I don't need to do this kind of stuff anymore. What I can now do is this. It's obviously can be a bit more difficult than that, because when stuff kicks into your subconscious, it wants to rule the space that you're in. So then there's just about kind of thinking the consistency in telling yourself, doing what you want to be doing, actually also thinking about what you really want. Because most of the time, if we come from a difficult space. We're very good at thinking about what we don't want. So I don't want this again. I don't want that again. I don't want this to happen. But unfortunately, if we focus on what we don't want, then that's what we all have a tendency to find what we don't want, because there's part of your brain that switches on when you're looking for things. If you're focusing on something, there's a part of your brain called your reticular activating system, or your RAS, and that's your I'll go find what you're looking for part of your brain. And if I focus on something, then my brain says, oh, let's go find that then. So if I'm saying I don't want someone who's abusive, I don't want someone who's going to cheat, I don't want someone who's selfish, I don't want, your brain is always looking out for those types of people because you're trying to avoid them. But then you're going to miss everybody else that you actually want to be with because you're too busy focusing on the things that you don't want.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about understanding where you're coming from and then trying to think about what it is that you do want, and then focusing on that in order to bring that into your life.
Yeah. And I find this really interesting, I guess, from my perspective, being a resilience coach and looking at the proactive elements of kind of a holistically healthy lifestyle and well-being. Because I think when people think of relationship coaching, they think about fixing something that's broken, or already being in a relationship. So how do you find kind of coming at it from kind of the other way, really, sort of before people get into that?
Yeah, I think people will come and speak to me because they recognize there's already been a problem. So some people I speak to are in relationships. Because my kind of speciality expert area before, because I come from a lot of toxic and unhealthy relationship spaces myself. When I first started to specialize in relationship spaces, it was to help people to manage and look after themselves or choose different paths in toxic and unhealthy relationships that they were in. So I still get people that I talk to that are already in the relationships, and occasionally I'll do some couples coaching as well if they, you know, if they have things that they need to work out, because as a therapist I was a couples therapist as well. But yeah, it's people that maybe they come from a space, especially I think through the pandemic. I think it's really got to put a lot of issues to the fore for people, especially the ones that were on their own during the first lockdown, and then the subsequent lockdowns have happened, and they've spent a lot of time by themselves. And they've taken a lot of time to sort of reflect and say, okay, why am I on my own? Why am I single? Why do I feel anxious sometimes? So I've had a few people come, and especially when their attachments playing out, so they're on their own and they're feeling quite anxious being on their own. They feel lonely, and they feel that they're never going to find the right type of person. So it's had a lot of deep triggering for some people. Other people have avoided relationships in the past. They don't really know how to connect at a deeper level. So when they start to feel something for someone, something in them goes, oh no, I don't know if I really want to do this. So they could have focused on business and career without actually realizing that they were focusing on this because they didn't really know how to do that. Or if, in fact, some people just said, look, I really want to get myself into a space, business career wise, and I haven't had time really to focus on a relationship. And now they're coming out of lockdown and going, actually, I've been on my own for a few months. Business is great, but it would have been nice to have some time with somebody there. So there's a few things. I think the kind of the pandemic has really brought a lot of things to the surface for people. So generally people seek help when they want help. They have to have reached maybe a certain point in their life where they go, actually, no, I don't really know if I want to do this stuff anymore. I'd like to do something else. Or they lose direction, or they feel a bit stuck, or whatever. And so they're all coming with a similar type of space that something needs to change. And it's just what we need to figure out is what they need to change in order to get what they want.
Okay. So I'd just like to kind of pick up on what you were talking about in terms of toxic and unhealthy relationships. What do they look like? How do you sort of assess a relationship from that perspective?
So there's a few signs to look out for. So if you feel like you're emotionally drained a lot of the time, or you feel tired or lethargic in that relationship, so maybe since you've met somebody or the time you've been with them, you've lost your own energy. Maybe you notice that it's a roller coaster, that there's always ups and downs in the relationship. It's never quite steady or straight. That there's times where they blow like mountains out of molehills, like there's a small issue and it all gets blown up out of proportion, and generally you're the one that ends up apologizing even though you haven't done anything wrong. They're trying to give you responsibility for the problems all of the time, and they find it really difficult to accept any kind of responsibility for anything. Maybe you've got some physical issues because you've been with someone. Maybe you've started to get stomach problems or headaches or tension or whatever it is. It's just being able to kind of be aware of the fact that actually this person causes you issues. And when you're not with them, it actually feels like a bit of a relief sometimes. Or actually, on the other hand, it could feel quite stressful not being with them because you don't know how they're going to be feeling. So you're going to go back and see them. And again, if you find that when you go to see them or you've spent some time away from them, and you're worrying about them, they're always on your mind, but not in a healthy way. They're kind of real signs that you're in maybe a toxic, but definitely an unhealthy, even if it's one or two of those things. It's definitely a not healthy space, and it's okay for you to think about that and how you want to address that problem. With some people, it's just who they are, and it doesn't matter what you do, they're always going to be the same. Like I can do 99 things great, but the one thing I do out of 100 that's wrong for them is a thing that they're going to keep picking up on and reminding me of and tell me that I don't do very well. So there's quite a few things to be aware of, and just to acknowledge that within yourself that this isn't right for you, and you don't have to stay there if you don't want to. You can try and instigate change. You can change within yourself and not do the things that you're doing at the moment, which then maybe allows them to continue in this space. But it doesn't, sometimes, like I said, it doesn't really matter how much you change, they will still be the same because they need you to be in that space all the time. And also you need to check in with your own needs as well. The reason that you're there in the first place is generally because it meets a need of yours. So it could be that you're a people pleaser. It could be that you're lacking confidence and you don't really know how to step out of yourself and set boundaries and have that kind of resilience within yourself to say, this doesn't work for me. So again, there's something for you to look in the mirror and just sort of say, actually, is there anything about what I'm doing which is allowing this to happen? And there will be. It's just about trying to figure out what that is.
No, thank you. That's really helpful. So looking at it from I guess a forward perspective, what advice would you give to somebody who, now that we're sort of coming out of lockdown, thinks, okay, I feel like I'm ready to engage in sort of dating and looking for a relationship, but I don't feel like I've been around people for such a long time. What advice would you give to them?
I think if you're worried about those types of things, there is definitely some work to be looking at yourself there. Because if you don't feel confident to go out there, then that'll be something to do with what's going on internally. So if you find that you're struggling with that, is to kind of try and understand that for yourself. What is it about how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking that's stopping me from feeling comfortable in this type of situation? Yes, it's going to be a bit strange to kind of start mingling with people again after such a long time. But the important thing is that you are recognizing who you are and being your authentic self. So a lot of the work I do with people is, once we've uncovered that kind of difficulty that they've got, is again, what kind of masks do they wear? Are you holding part of yourself back? Are you being yourself? Are you being congruent and authentic when you're going out into the world? And do you accept that yourself? So if you don't accept who you are, it's going to be really difficult for you to walk out into the world and be accepted by everybody else, because it doesn't matter if they accept you or not. If you don't accept yourself, you're still going to judge yourself in a certain way, which is then you're going to find it really hard to feel like you can just go out there and relax and enjoy yourself and be yourself and give the best side of yourself off. Kind of understanding that about yourself, I think, is very important. If you're going to go back out to the dating world and you've struggled with that before, that you feel like you maybe need to conform or fit into anybody's sort of space rather than standing in your own space.
Do you think online dating plays a part in that, in terms of being able to hide behind particular masks?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, we put the persona forward that we think people are going to accept.
Mhm.
And if we are looking to impress people or please people, or trying to fit a mold because we think that's what someone else is looking for, we're never really going to be our authentic selves. And that's really easy to do online. We can write a persona that we think is acceptable. And therefore, when we meet somebody, they are looking for the persona that we are showing them.
Yeah.
And then after, maybe if that relationship then progresses, the problem that then will happen is that when you then start to feel more comfortable with that person, you'll start to show them your real self. And they may go, who are you?
Yeah.
You're not the person I met. And they might reject you. They might sort of say, okay, this isn't the person that I want to be with. But that won't be their fault. That won't be anything that they've done wrong.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you never showed them who you really were at the start. So they've now embarked on a relationship with somebody that they thought you were, but you weren't really. So I think it's really important, again, that, you know, when you're going online, when you're going out anywhere, if you're looking for a relationship, is you just go and be yourself.
Yeah.
And then that person wants to be with you because you're being yourself.
Yeah.
And then a few months down the line, if they change their mind, it can't be anything that you've done really, because it's just something, again, you know, they might have their own problems that have come up. They might not be ready, or they might have decided they've changed their mind again, and that's okay. People will change their minds. And again, it's about not taking it personally. It's about going, well, okay, I know that I'm still a great person. I know that I'm this authentic person in front of them. And if they don't like that, then that's okay. As things work out and some things don't work out.
Yeah.
To be okay with that idea. And I think that's another thing about going back out into the dating world. People get scared of rejection and will they really like me, and am I good enough? And again, there's all the kind of things that I work with people that help them to put themselves into that I am in a good enough space.
Yeah. Brill, thank you. So how can people get in touch with you, find out more about you, get to work with you?
So if they wanted to contact me, they can book in for a complimentary call. I do a relationship breakthrough session with people, which is a 30-minute call where we have a chat and sort of understand what they need for themselves in their lives, and work out a little brief strategy in that session about what we can do in order to get them that. And you can book that via my website, which is www.johnkennycoaching.com. You can connect me on social media. So if you just put John Kenny Coaching or John Kenny Coach in social media, you should find me quite easily. But generally the best place to get hold of me is via the website, and just fill out a contact form or book in a call with me.
Brill. Well, thank you very much, John. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Lovely to speak to you.
Thank you. Please subscribe, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you.